is the stream that was never supposed to be. Holy crow. We just had to shut down because of technical garbage. And then I get a text from work about some huge problem. Oh boy. And then I had to focus on that for a while. I said, I'll be back in 5 minutes, and it's not 5 minutes. Um, Man, I guess I won't say the universe is conspiring against me because it's not. Um, Maybe I needed to shut down so that I could get that text from work. Ah, see, that's how you look at it. Welcome back, Splattercat and Craig's. Yes, I'm about to give a little explanation for that in a second. I was delayed. I don't know who else is going to come back and deal with my BS. I'll probably repeat this a few times. So, after I shut down, I got a text from work with some serious problem, and then I had to deal with that for a while, and that took some time. It's temporarily fixed, and when I go into work tomorrow, I've got a shitstorm to deal with. So that's always fun. You know, it's like, I'm gonna be fine. It's just like there's one particular individual who needs a talking to. We'll see how it goes, but I'm not worried about it. But I am very upset that I had to make you guys wait. I do not like to make my friends wait. I am a man of my word. If I say we're coming back, we're coming back. We're so back. Craig, yes, work sucks sometimes. Indeedy. Um, yeah, this was a shocker too. This was like not a small. This could throw my life upside down kind of situation. It's like that bad, but I'm not gonna obviously give details, but I don't know. It's just there's certain people that behave certain ways that should not be tolerated. And there's a lot of times in life when people do things that are harmful to themselves without sort of knowing it. I mean, they know it, but they have this kind of childish behavior. Then they do it anyway. And when they get caught in a lie, then the shit storm is gonna fall on their head. And somebody got caught in a lie, and that affects me directly. So, gonna be a lot of fun going to work tomorrow. Hick, hick, hick. Anyway, yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry I have to be so vague about that, but I'm sure you guys understand. So anyway, how is the audio? Are we still choppy? Are we still breaking up? So my phone was really, really hot. It had been hot. It had been on all day, and then whatever, doing the stream, blah blah blah. So I think that condolences for your situation. Yeah, thanks, Craig. That's kind of you to say. I appreciate your thoughtfulness. Um, yeah, I'm like smart enough and experienced enough to know how to get through these things. I did have to vent a little. I think it's justified. Like when somebody is fucking around with your shit behind your back and they get caught, then they deserve a little lashing, so to speak. But the problem is, will the system do its job and discipline such behavior. So this is, you know, there's always this discussion about. See, this is where like fascism comes involved. I was like, tie it into fascism. So there's just very, very, very few people that understand it, and it just drives me out of my mind. But an analogy I've come up with recently is that I think of fascism as kind of like the father of the family that is very benevolent, very loving, but also very strict. And that the children, which in a sense is the nation, are sometimes badly behaved. And I don't mean like, I mean like doing things that actually harm themselves. So, what is a parent for if not to step in at times like that and discipline the child and, create parameters and or something, systems of some kind, I guess, that will make it so that the child doesn't do that again or learns a lesson. Does that make sense? And it's not like out of anger or hatred or some kind of thing like that. It's like, I don't know, accountability. And I mean, what is the left but total lack of accountability? And this person isn't like leftist or whatever. I'm just talking about like the analogy of why like fascism is useful or good for a society. And in America, like we're fucking way off the fucking chain. I mean, we are way, way out. People are living horrible, degenerate lives that are causing their souls to be totally poisoned and dead inside. And nihilism is king. I could talk about that for a while, but uh, anyway, I guess that's a thing. It's just a thing. But there you go. So anyway, let's check the chat a little tiny bit. The audio is good. However, there is a sound that kind of sounds like an old cassette player because I'm listening to music. But I'll turn that music off. So give me a second. I'll be back. All right, let's have a productive show here with 5 people. Maybe it's wind against the mic. No, I moved the fan so that it shouldn't be hitting the mic on the phone. I meant the windy, static-ish sound. Is it gone? That's my question. Now, I've noticed that. Hold on, it's not the music. It's that ever-present static. Fuck! I gotta get a new phone. I'm sorry. So I need, excuse me, either to get a new phone or just get like a camera and hook it up to my laptop. And I love using the phone for various reasons. I've got like a special stand that I use. I don't know. It's just convenient. I just am used to it. That kind of thing. So my phone's been wonky in other ways as well, like just weird things. You know, it's definitely going down. The thing is very old. Like they make these phones so that they die. Like they don't. You're not supposed to buy one. You know what I mean? You're supposed to keep buying the next and the next and the next, and you know how they work. You know how they are. So I guess there's probably no escaping it. I hope you can tolerate some static for a little while. Maybe it kind of makes me sound like I'm broadcasting from the future or deep in the past. This is the broadcast from 1957. speaking of time travel, saw a really interesting. Actually, well, whatever. I'll just say it. I saw an interesting interview with Jason Reza Giorgiani, and it was talking about how UFO craft are not just devices that travel in space or whatever, but they actually warp space time, and that in order to fly one, or and rather even to sort of travel through time, well, like he just went through like the machinations of what that would entail. And it's pretty heavy, pretty serious stuff, like how disorienting it would be to travel forward or backward in time. Um, Interesting thing. And then there's all those questions about, like, let's say if you changed your own history or something like that. When you come back to the present, would it still be the same world? Because obviously the consequences would be different. It's kind of a sci-fi thing, but sort of interesting, though. So there's that. I don't know if you guys have seen this in the news. There is this object that they've discovered in our solar system, and they say that the behavior of the object indicates that it is not like a rock or something, but it's some kind of a ship or something like that. And then it's the question kind of like, okay, is this the big setup for some kind of fake holograph alien invasion to kickstart the new global whatever, that whole thing. And that's a very, very legitimate concern, um, potentially true. Um, so something to be cautious of and aware of. Splattercat says it doesn't bother me at all. Craig says, oh, it's just the wind blades of the fan. It's fine. Flash is back. I assume that means I agree. But I'd kind of like to get into some conversation, though, instead of all this other fuckery. Avril. I'm sorry, it just sounds like it's a word I'm getting used to. I have to check out that link that you dropped and find out what is Avril. What language is that even? Is that like, doesn't even sound English. Is that some other language? Anyway, I'm a big fan. I mean, I've known Eric's work since like 2016. He's been on my radar that long. And he's always just seemed like a super solid guy. You know, if you listen to him talk, he's very, very rational, very calm, very centered. He kind of comes off as like a libertarian in a sense, although I don't know, if that's his whatever his what he thinks about that. So anyway, his interview on Jake Shields was quite good. I recommend it if you can check it out. And then Avril had Nick Fuentes on, which those are two interviews that I went through today. For whatever reason, I didn't catch all of both interviews, but I caught enough to get like a good sense of what's what. And some debate in my group, not debate, but some disagreement, I guess, on things like I feel like Fuentes is really the voice of the movement right now, even though he's not like elected or something like that, but just in the sense that he has the the biggest microphone. Let's just put it that way. Okay. There's lots of great voices out there that are like, Mark Collette is probably miles ahead of Fuentes in terms of like the man runs a community. He's done, I mean, wow. And not only that, he's sticking his neck way out there too. Britain is literally like a dystopian state in terms of like people getting arrested for shit. I'm surprised that he hasn't had more trouble. But anyway, so I'm not trying to diss Fuentes or whatever, but he's just got a lot of influence right now. He is, I guess, in not the limelight, but anyway, I think you get the point. So for Avril to interview him, I think really pushes the algorithm. You know what I'm saying? There's something there, because this is, I think, an important big picture perspective on these things, is that we don't want to be in a tiny little ghetto of like, oh wow, I've got 1,000 fans on YouTube or some shit. You want to spread and grow and move and keep keep pumping the algorithm, if you will. And so I think being on a like Everall, having him on the show does that, and so that's a good thing. Um, we'll see how it goes. I thought they had a really interesting conversation, just discussing like what would a real ethno state look like. You know, I believe Fuentes was saying something to the effect of like we need some kind of leader to emerge, and Avril was like, "Well, you're too young to be president." So like there's those things that are out there. I really am curious what Fuentes' future is if he doesn't get droned out of existence by Peter Thiel or something. Um, but yeah, I think the whole this deal of what do you call it? What's the name of his community? I forget what he calls it, but his ethno state, his white community, the intentional community. This looks to be the model for something. I do think that when the ADL goes nuts over this and then has to make a project out of it and all that, it's boosted, it's backfired a lot, which I think is both funny and good, in its own way. It's not a good thing. The guy is being taken to court or something, blah blah blah, Nazi, white supremacy, all that horse shit, the usual shit, But it's just gonna throw fuel on the fire. That's essentially how I'm looking at this. So we'll see. We'll see. I think it's gonna be good for us. It'll get our cause out there more. I think whites have to start asking, well, why the fuck is it wrong that we do this? Like, and then the whole thing about like Israel has its ethno state, but so why can't we? I mean, there's so many arguments, in the discussion or what have you. The hypocrisy, like the interview with Jake Shields, is really really good in that way. That they really really like, wow, bang, they hit that on the head. Um, Let me read some chat. Flashes here. They said it was one of those Jewish professors from Columbia that came up with a theory about the object being alien. Well, there's footage of it. I have actually seen it. I don't know that it's alien, but I'm just keeping an eye on it. It's, again, at this point, it's just like a slow drip. You're going to want to keep your eye on it. And I'm leaning into it being a psyop. I'm just going to presume that it is until it's like guilty until proven innocent. But this is the fucking world we live in, guys, you know? It is, you know? It sucks, but it's true. Craig says, I wasn't trying to sound arrogant in the chat earlier, mentioning that I got a sale. Oh, dude, you're good, man. Don't worry about it. Congratulations on your success. We celebrate our brothers and sisters' success. Flash says, Arval seemed like a genuine and thorough guy. He does his homework. Yes, and that matters. That fucking matters. He's not a grifter. He's not a showman. You understand? Like, he's not like a guy that's out there to impress people. He's extremely polite and civil. He actually, I think he's cut from the same cloth as forget his first name, Rousseau. He leads the Patriot Front. Something Rousseau, Thomas Rousseau. You know what I'm saying? Like like they both seem to reference the founding fathers. You know, like they're really into American identity in its original sense. You know, like Am I saying his name right? Arval? Am I saying his name? Am I being an ass? Am I making a fool of myself? I don't. The name. It's just such a weird foreign word to me that it's not computing in my head. I'm gonna have to like practice it 10 times a day, like Chinese or something. Sorry for being stupid. So yeah, I like that a lot. I respect that a lot. I think these guys are like Thomas Rousseau and Arval. Let me just call him Eric, okay? Because it's a little easier for me. Um, they're what I would maybe call real Americans. You know what I'm saying? I do not possess the same knowledge that they have about the founding fathers. I'm aware of a lot of it, but it's not like at my fingertips the way it is with these guys. Like they're really, it's wonderful to see them go. It's wonderful to see them operate and reference like, okay, the founding fathers, this, that, and the next thing, and then it makes you go, wow, damn, how did we fall so far from that to this? Like we were never meant to be a democracy. That's I hate democracy. Democracy is such a shit system. It's like, oh, let's come up with a system that we can easily corrupt, and give people the illusion of power. Oh, well, 4 years later, we get to vote again. Oh, well. Like, are you stupid? Again, this is why I lean into third position a lot. It's like, look, what's right is right, what's wrong is wrong. Set up a system that benefits the people, all people, and lock it in, and that's it. And we don't need any more fuckery. No more pageantry, no more lies, no more corruption, no APAC. Fuck that shit, APAC. Fuck APAC. What the fuck is that shit? How did we get here? Oh, well, yeah, just watch your football and drink your beer. Go to the mall, keep shopping, everything's fine. You know, it's that's not being American. Quite honestly, it's not really the American spirit. So I blame myself for certain, like I should be putting more time into learning about such things, and so it's on me. But just kind of standing up for Eric and Thomas and their way of being. I wish more Americans were like that. Why are they not? I find that Southerners tend to be way more educated on these kind of things, and I think we can kind of figure out why there's a certain historic disenfranchisement going on here that would, cultivate a culture of what I would call true Americanism, true American political culture, if that makes sense. And when I say political culture, I mean like the kind of person someone is, like who's knowledgeable about our forefathers and what America is supposed to be, etc. Arval seems like a gen. I read that. Man, I don't see it. This is Arval is a Platonist. So I suppose he tries to make the most rational arguments. That's really, you hit it right in the head. Oh, and this is another thing. He talked about Gnosticism in the Jake Shields interview, which I was pretty amazed at. And I was kind of surprised that, I mean, of course, Jake Shields is going to do his research before he has a guest on. And he's like, so, I read or heard that you're a Gnostic. Can you talk about that? And so, I don't like, Eric would not call himself a Gnostic. He calls himself like a Platonic Christian. Um, but he spoke of Gnosticism, described, things about it that demonstrated, knowledge of it, and blah blah blah. Just something. But the key point here is that he's saying, as a Platonist, um, I'm open to constantly open to learning about discovering other truths or other systems, other ways of thinking, being, etc. And so, as such, Gnosticism has something to learn, and blah blah blah. You can. I don't want to like paraphrase it. You really should just go see the interview yourself. But I was delighted that he talked about it a bit and knew a few key things, to share on that topic. Um, yeah, so I'm just concentrating on the artwork a little bit here. Get that square. Return to the Land. Thank you. That's what I was looking for. Return to the Land. I appreciate it. Yeah, and it's returntotheland.com or .org, but I would urge everybody to go check that out. Um, so there you go. Yeah. What I'm interested in is how the arts can create the culture of what I call white racial enlightenment or a racial awakening, collectivizing whites racially. It's funny because it's just every time you say racial, it's like, oh, it's racist. Like, like I'm just so used to like dealing with intellectual infants that I can't even use like normal words anymore. That somehow they're like packed with controversial undertones. Um, it's this, when I say, whites need to have a racial enlightenment or whites should collectivize racially. What the juice box hears is 110. You know what I'm saying? Like they that's a threat to them. Um, the parasite does not want the host to know that the parasite is living off of them, and it's, so collectivizing white identity for our demographic interests is a threat to their existence because they do not behave or operate like a normal civilization in which they build their own cultures and they have their own, you know, means of survival, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Um, it's always this kind of bleeding of the West, Of course, it goes deeper with the Talmud and this whole, you know, our Savior will not come until all the sons of Rome are destroyed and their memory erased from earth, and all this religious ideology of genocide, white genocide, which is very, very real. Um, anyway, I'm going off on a million tangents here. Um, but yeah, it's exciting. It's really exciting to see. Oh yeah, so I was kind of getting back to that thing about Eric is interested in this idea also about like how do we stimulate our people to want to create these communities, and etc. So, I feel like it's coming, kind of. I feel like it's happening. I would say that people don't know how to do it though. They don't. We're all obviously locked into our jobs, and I need insurance or this or that, or how do you start your whole life over in some community in the woods? Like this kind of a wild notion. Um, I don't know that the average white person has that uh, worked out or whatever, but or even finds that desirable, obviously. But interesting stuff. What do we got in the chat? Flash says there was another group that created a white community in the recent years, maybe with Asha logos. I didn't know that. Um, Interesting. Um, yeah. Okay, let's move on. Jake Shields interviewed both Russo and Arval at the same time in his recent podcast. At the same time? Holy Shavitsky's, I gotta see that. Oh my god, I gotta see that. Oh man, if you, I mean, I guess I could just jump on Jake Shields' show and try to search that, but I gotta have that link. Must have that link. Um, is the robot doing her? Yeah. So like, this part of the story, I explained it in one of the previous episodes. She's a robot, and he reprogrammed her. Uh, he's in this. The scene is there's like this huge fight scene between these different female robots, and there's some other things going on, and he needs to flee. He needs to get out of there, and he knows that these robots fly. They've got sort of like kind of like Iron Man style propeller jet rockets in their hands and feet, kind of thing. So he's able to reprogram her, and he's trying to like say like, hey, look, I need to get out of here. Let's go. But in the reprogramming, somehow she's like fallen in love with him. And so she's doing her little thing here to kind of get him to, whatever. And it's comedy, it's comedy. No, I didn't write the story. You can ask the author, about this if you like. Um, it's really crunch time for me. I've got to get the rest of this graphic novel done in the next couple months. There's a lot of work to be done, so I'm really gotta, grind the stone, so to speak. No pun intended about grinding. Oh, but sorry, that was totally inappropriate. First we're talking about boobs, and now we're talking about this. Oh, Donald Kent. Come on, man. If you notice, that's one thing I don't do on this show is I don't have like bawdy humor. I don't talk about so what I would call inappropriate things. I've never been like a dirty joke guy or whatever. That's just not, I feel that's kind of uncouth. It's just not me, You can do it. It's not, I'm not like a nun or something. I mean, I can make a joke or have a laugh or something, but it's just not my normal way of being, if you will. So, blah, blah, blah. And there you go. Hentai. Hentai, right. Manga Waffen Assemble. Let's hope this stays on the comedy side of the comic store. Oh yeah, I mean, there's, it's, so, talk about the book here. It's like a political lampoon, I guess, is what I would sort of call it. It takes God, a whole world of memes, meme culture, and like political influencers, and kind of reinterprets them as superheroes and supervillains. And then the author kind of has his own kind of take on these things. It definitely leans right, obviously. I wouldn't be involved in it, obviously, if it wasn't or didn't. But there's a pretty healthy sense of humor, and kind of giving jabs at different people in different ways. Um, I think the more people are tuned into political culture, meme culture, the more they're going to get out of this graphic novel. And I should think that, a lot of people, especially younger people, are savvy in that regard. So I expect it to be quite successful in that way. It I see this as being like a kind of phenomenon in pop culture when it comes out. Um, It'd be like the new thing, it'll be like the new thing for a while. Everything has a sort of a shelf life in a sense, like you discover a thing and then you kind of get into it a lot for a while, and then people meme it and they talk about it, they joke about it, and then like the next big event happens in the news or whatever, and then people switch over to the next thing, and they meme that into oblivion, and on and on and on. And it's just the course of things. So this will have its. I mean, it's got. How do I put? It's not like some flight by night flaky thing. It's definitely got gravitas. It's got feet, if you will, or it could lay some roots. And it can easily be franchised, I think, into a much bigger thing. Film, obviously, is the end of the rainbow for projects like this, and that does happen. There's like, if this gets enough traction or mileage or whatever, where people notice it enough, and it sells well enough, then Hollywood producers will be knocking at the door. You know, that's the end of the rainbow for people in the graphic novel world. It's always the hope, you know. Will it be acceptable to say the things that we say in this? I think so. I think it's sort of safe enough, if you will. Maybe not. I mean, I am far right, so. Yeah, she's dry humping him. I saw that. CG's here. Evening. Okay. I day, daily laws here, and she says I love you. Well, God bless you. Uh, Delilah. I apologize. I read that wrong. I'm a little fatigued at the moment. Craig, the R word is the easiest one to defeat. Okay, clothes on. There's a program. Jason C. Ayoo, good to have you, Jason. Well, it is a mixture of being in front of us, confusion of um, what we were seeing due to you not being someone who I think would draw actual anime. Oh no. I would never do porn. That's, that's like I said. That is me. I'm a little. I'm too clean cut for that. If I consider this to be the same as cartoon porn rather than comedy, I wouldn't have stuck around. Oh yeah. So there you go. Um, so, and here's another thing. Like these pages, I should pull up the other pages. There's this thing happening where these are. Let me back out. These kind of bad guys here. They're all kind of. They're watching the event through this crystal ball, and they have like competing factions, and they're trying to see like who's gonna win, and then like now you can see in this panel somewhat that they're like arguing and freaking out over events and who, what's going on. So there's like a cut back and forth between these two, not scenes, but these two locations in the scene. All these guys are trying to get the good guy, but they're using their different tools and methods, different robots to do that. So they're like competing with each other in some way. Okay, shut up and draw is what they say. So I have 10 people in the chat, and it's 10:10 at night where I live. What does it mean? Ladies and gentlemen, we just broke the matrix. I know Kung Fu. Oh, Kung Fu, let's talk a little bit. I was at an event last night, and I reconnected with one of my old sparring partners. He apparently had an injury and couldn't work out or whatever for a fairly long time. And whatever, so there's that. And then there's another new friend on the scene who I basically said, hey, I can teach you Kung Fu. I don't charge. I just need people to work out with. And he's the kind of guy that I think would be good at it, and he wants to do it. So having a new student and reconnecting with this sparring partner at the same time is like, wow, this is like a really nice, positive new thing coming down the line here. And then another old friend got in touch with me who for a long time is like, hey, yeah, let's do those Kung Fu lessons. I really want to do that. And so he got back to me. I'm like, hey, dude, we're going to be meeting up at this location. Where do you live? And he's like, oh, I live right around the corner from there. So like now I got 4 dudes. Now 2 of them are complete newbies. They don't know any martial arts. So I'll be teaching them, and then, sparring with my guy, like I just mentioned, an old sparring partner. That sparring partner I've talked about on this show, like a lot in the past and stuff. He's somehow he combines what's called Wing Chun with karate, and so like how he does it is that like when he does his infighting, it's sort of Wing Chun-y. It's not. I wouldn't call it like real Wing Chun because I've worked out with like high level Wing Chun guys. I know what it is. But like he's really really good at kicking. So that's tough. It's tough to spar guys that are very very good at kicking. It's a thing, as you can kind of imagine. Anyway, I'm super excited. I'm so happy to finally get back into that. I'll admit I've gained a lot of weight, and I need to, lose weight. I've been trying, and I'll lose 5 pounds and gain 5 pounds and lose 5 pounds and gain 5 pounds. It's like, oh, fuck. So this will just be one more thing in my routine that'll help me out with that. So I'm excited. It's fun. And like 2 hours can fly by when you're doing martial arts and you don't even know it. Whereas like, doing like an hour of exercise in your room or something feels like torture. Like this is boring as fuck. Anyway, so there you go, and now a little good news to share. Psyched about that. Let's see. I'm working out as you speak. Oh, that's good. That's cool. What do you do when you work out? CG says, would you ever enjoy doing a workout in a park and sparring an active club boxer versus your Kung Fu? Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Like, I don't know of any active clubs near where I live. Um, I've actually looked into that, and I'm just not. I guess I'm just not in an area where that is. So it's kind of sucky in that regard. Because I'd like to be more plugged in with that culture. Sparring boxers is its own thing. They have their own techniques, things that they're really good at. I mean, presuming that someone is good at boxing, the footwork is really good. They're really good at infighting, like close range fighting. Um, the whole bobbing and weaving thing is really, really important in terms of like not being always in one place, being a moving target. I believe strongly in the idea of being a moving target. Moving targets are hard to hit, you know. Um, it's been a long time since I've sparred a boxer. I Years ago when I was doing sort of started out the sparring club with my Wing Chun friend. We had more boxers that just came and went in the club. Um, so like just because it's boxing doesn't mean everyone is equal at boxing. You could get a guy who's like really 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 good, and then I would have to figure out how am I going to deal with this guy. What's He's got all this skill, so how can I adjust to that? But that is the purpose of sparring, okay, is to work out against different systems and then come up with strategies that work against those systems. Does that make sense? So it's not, I just have to say this like 1,000 fucking times. It's not competition, it's training. So you go in there with the mentality of like, I want to lose from this person because that's how I'm going to learn. When they overwhelm me or they do some kind of technique that gets me, then I'll go, okay, now I see that. I see what you're doing there. So then I can, come up with a strategy for that. You see what I'm saying? So that if I'm ever in like a confrontation in real life with someone who's using boxing, then I already have the experience of sparring with a boxer. And I can kind of plug that in, so to speak. Does that make sense? Like, oh, okay, this guy he's already moving, he's dancing around like a boxer, so it's likely he's gonna do A, B, and C, It's likely that he's got this particular strategy, or, he's gonna want to get in real close on me to do these particular type of techniques. So that's how you get good at defending yourself, is literally getting in there and studying, so to speak. It's kind of like in sports, right? You got to play a lot, I guess, and then you kind of look at the tapes, or you learn from playing, from doing. You know what I mean? So that would be awesome. Um, I know that I come off sometimes as kind of like judgy or whatever about certain martial arts. Most martial arts guys do. It's just a thing. Um, I think what I can do is respect things on their own terms, if that makes sense. Push-ups, weights, abs. Oh, good. Wow, awesome. Wow. So at the moment, what I have to think of is kind of like lesson plans for these new guys, and like, what do I want to teach? And so there's a whole sort of orientation where you kind of I start off by explaining, okay, these are ways of looking at what you're going to learn, body mechanics, how to generate power, strategy, just fundamentals. Um, the one tricky little thing, this isn't a bad thing, but the sparring partner who does the Wing Chun karate stuff, he's a real kind of outspoken guy, and it's likely that he's gonna kind of jump in a lot and have a lot of commentary, which is like that's okay. It's not, in a sense, you could say like there's millions of systems. You just kind of have to, figure out where, what do you want, what jives with you, like what makes sense to you, what do you organically kind of, you know, what's the word? What are you drawn to per se? So I've got two new students, and they're both kind of. One guy's pretty tall. The other guy is maybe my height. I'm like not short, but I'm not like basketball tall. I'm not like that tall. Anyway, the taller dude, um, he's got some weight on him in terms of like if you did get hit by him, you'd definitely fucking feel it. It'll rock you. Because of just the size of the dude. You know what I'm saying? What I'm saying. Now that is preferable. You definitely, as a teacher, you want that. You want dudes that are bigger than you. In life, it's more likely that you're going to be threatened by someone who's larger than you than someone who's shorter than you. So you get the idea. And you want to work in an environment where you're at a disadvantage. You see, I mean, I know that sounds counter intuitive, but how do you get better? That's by putting yourself in these kind of disadvantaged states. So that's cool. Um, so there you go. That's good. I'm super excited about it. We're gonna just start off with like footwork, basic, whatever, basic. I'm not really gonna do kicks this early on. It's much too early for that. Um, Blocking, punching, block punch combo type stuff combined with footwork. That's the fundamental stuff. You got to be able to control distance. You have to be coordinated enough between your hands and feet. You know, um, and like it's, I don't know. I always think of it like learning an instrument. It's sort of awkward at first. And so just give them stuff that they can take home and train, you know. Um, and then just put the time in, because there's a lot of repetition in martial arts where you have to repeat. That's kind of a classic quote from Bruce Lee where he's like, I'm not afraid of the guy who knows 1,000 kicks. I'm afraid of the guy who's done one kick 1,000 times. And that's it's well phrased. It's a good concept. Um, like anything, if you do a thing 1,000 times, whatever that thing might be, you can only imagine how intuitively and naturally you would just that would just it's kind of like, if you drive to work and you get there but you don't remember driving there, and whoa, what the hell, how did I get here? It's because you've done it, so many times that it's kind of baked into your mind, and you just sort of know where to go, and it just happens. So you want to that's where kung fu is time. All martial arts is time investment. Speaking of time, I gotta go to work tomorrow, so like I'm gonna have to wrap up this show very soon. Hit the showers and whatever, but anyway, pretty cool stuff. I would say, responding to CG on the boxing thing, um, different people from different martial arts have their own way of training, and they're kind of their own martial art culture that goes with it. And so there's always it's a kind of, I don't know how to explain this, but it's like if we agree to do this and both of us could get hurt doing it, we have to make a kind of a gentleman's agreement not to injure each other. So I can go hard, I can hit and get hit, but I will not engage or work out with people that can't control that. Does that make sense? So if I state that to someone that wants to work out, spar, and they kind of make weird excuses, or they kind of look at me sideways, and they're kind of like, oh well, then I know that they're not willing to do that. That mentally they're not mature enough to train with me. Instead, they're trying to prove something. They've got something to prove, and to me, that's just childish. That's kind of very immature. And you can go do that on the streets or in a bar with somebody. You can go, do violence on somebody to work out your little, like, lack of power deficit mentality, whatever the fuck is wrong with you. So that's a kind of that's just a thing that has to be put out there. So, um, yeah, that's it. So, like, that's that. Martial arts isn't playing basketball. Like, people can be permanently injured. There could be lawsuits. Do you understand? So it's not a joke. I know guys that train hard and then they break bones, they lose teeth, um, they get fucked up for life. And then, well, I had to quit training because I had an injury, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, no, you had to quit training because you're a stupid fucking asshole and you don't understand how to train, you retard. Not, we're not here to hurt each other. We're here to help each other. Can you get that through your thick fucking meathead skull? So I obviously have like a hang up about that. I don't, I mean, I've said that like thousands of times on my show. It's frustrating. I guess it's just that competitive thing. People have it. It's a huge part of the martial arts culture. Nobody wants to lose. Everybody wants to win all the time. You don't get better by winning all the time, and that's a fucking fantasy to begin with, okay? You have to lose. If lose is the wrong word. You have to learn. That's the right way to put it. Like, how do you learn? By getting hit, and that's it. You learn by getting hit. So my little lesson is over, and I got to wrap this show up, my good friends. Let's see if there's a couple last minute things here. Yeah, I mean, if you're when you're punching and kicking somebody, you're dealing with, like, you're triggering a primal fight or flight lower reptilian brain instinct that's extremely hard to control. It really, really is. And that's why I always talk about Zen and in cultivating Zen mind so that you can control that. Now, other people, like, going berserk and like letting yourself off the chain like a rabid dog is part of their training. Like, that's literally baked into it. But to me, that's like giving the keys to a drunk driver. You know what I'm saying? Why would I fucking do that? And yeah, you can wear, all kinds of gear to protect yourself so that you blah, blah, blah. I don't know. It's a different approach. It's a different philosophy. I'm not going to say that there that way is wrong, but it's not my way. It's not my way. I feel like people who are attracted to that kind of berserker training tend to have, they're more of the kind of like angry young man type, if that makes sense. I was never an angry young man. I came into martial arts through fucking Buddhism. You know, it's like I love the philosophy of it. I'm like, my teacher tells me I'm a crane stylist because I'm a natural born scholar, and cranes are scholarly in the way that they do and approach kung fu. Blah blah blah. I know I'm not trying to, pat myself in the back. That he did say that though. So, and I do have a more intellectual approach to it. So I'm not saying I'm the best. I'm not saying my way is the only way, but I adhere to my way because I have so many years of experience and it works. So why not stick with what works for me? Let's move on here. I'm going to say quick reading here. Have a good night. Great convo. Thank you, Jason, for coming. I'm so happy you came. Hippocratic Oath. Great to see you guys. Good monologue. Oh, wow. Thanks. That I appreciate. Coming from you, that means a lot. I appreciate that, CG. Very much so. Good step. Kind of capabilities. Challenge. Or body sizes. Fighting. Sound dependent. Where can I do anything? All right. Awesome sauce. Guys, have a great night. And you take care of yourselves. We'll be back as soon as we can. Hopefully no glitches. All right. Have a good night. Bye-bye.